Hello folks and welcome to Paddock Pass, your pre-race edition for the 2018 Belgian Grand Prix. Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps, welcome back from the summer break. It's been 3 weeks, it doesn't really feel like it's been 3 minutes. And yeah, can't wait to get the second half of the season going, although it is only 9 races. Now, I was a week into my holiday. The majority of teams were on their final day of work, Friday, the final Friday before shutdown. Most of them running a skeleton staff, most media operations winding down. Yeah, it's fine, no big news is coming in today. And then it did. A shock, a genuine shock in the driver market, because we thought we had the driver market sewn up. We knew what was happening. Danny Ric was staying at Red Bull, Kimi was going to leave Ferrari, and Leclerc was going there, and you know, Ocon was going to Renault. Yeah, we had it sorted. We didn't know anything because Daniel Ricciardo, apparently only on the Thursday, agreed, actually, I'm going to join Renault. So Ricciardo said, I'm going to Renault. Red Bull announced that, and that was the holiday ruined. Well, it wasn't. It was actually a really lovely holiday. But yeah, that was that. I got in trouble for tweeting on holiday. Anyway, Daniel Ricciardo will leave Red Bull Racing. He's been with them for 10 years, been within the Red Bull family for 10 years, but that's it. Gone. Off to Renault for pastures new. Why? Is it that Verstappen was getting too quick? Is it that Verstappen was getting favoured over him? Is it that Daniel just wanted something new, a new challenge, like all of us? 3, 4, 5 years, we want something new to get our teeth into. We'll ask the man himself, and we'll start this week's Paddock Pass with Daniel Ricciardo. That news going into the summer that took this whole paddock by shock.
The decision honestly wasn't like concrete in my mind 24 hours, maybe 48 before it actually got announced. So it's not something I knew for weeks, or Budapest race weekend, you know, nothing was done or confirmed. So, you know, obviously Renault was a consideration for a long time, but yeah, it was a process which I lost sleep many nights trying to figure out what was the best thing for me, you know, moving forward. And it finally hit me that, you know, that was it, and I felt like the change was the right thing for me, you know, on a personal level. So yeah, but I wasn't keeping a secret for very long, not at all.
What made your mind up? Because if we're looking from the outside, there's all kinds of factors we could have taken into it, all kinds of factors that people have wanted to throw at it. Max being favoured, for example, or Max, you know, being on that upward trajectory, you wanting to start something new at Renault. But which was it for you?
It was lots of probably little things, you know, but I think the main thing was probably within myself. I felt like this year, you know, particularly the start was pretty insane. You know, had the strongest start to a season I've ever had, and so it was all going really well. But for some reason, at times I'm always hard on myself. But I don't want to say unhappy, but sometimes just more or less excited than I should be, or sometimes I find myself maybe a bit down, and just trying to understand why. And I think it sounds too simple. As I said, it's probably a lot of little things, but kind of like the routine and all that was, I don't know, probably I at times lost a bit of a spark, and I think the change and having a fresh challenge, new scenery, new environment will kind of keep that topped up for me.
You've had all your wins with the Renault engine in the back. You've had an awful lot of heartache as well. How did they convince you that that wasn't going to continue?
Yeah, to be honest, out of I think there was, you know, certain degree of risk with really anywhere else I was going to go, and I think with Renault, look, they've made progress. They were honest. They still got, you know, work to do, but this year in particular, you know, reliability is still an area of weakness, but from a power side, they've certainly made progress, at least on Sundays in race trim, and there's, you know, more to come. So I think just it's still going to take time, but where they're investing, they're extending the factory and you know, employing a fair chunk of people and doing what's required to, I believe, to fix these flaws. Is that the word? Flaws? Yeah. So my English is kind of, I've been living in Europe too long. Or Australia. Maybe they don't teach us good English in Australia. But yeah, so look, I was convinced that they're on the right trajectory, and yeah, I'm just going to back it in and see how we go. But
is there any fear from you that over the next 9 races, Helmut might do what Helmut sometimes does, and you might end up either without a drive or down at Toro Rosso, and they might put Pierre in your seat to try and get him acclimatized to the car?
You know what? I have not thought about that. No, look, I wanna, for me personally, but for the guys, the team, you know, it's been the 5 years, nearly 5 years with Red Bull has been awesome, and the 10 years with the company has been awesome, you know. So I want to finish it right. I want to finish strong. I believe we can win more races together. So look, I hope not. I hope that's not the case, and I still, you know, I've got 9 races to give to the team, and I'm 100% in. You know, until 31st of December or whatever you want to call it. You know, I'm a Red Bull guy, and I'm going to give it all I have. So.
Felt a bit bad asking Daniel about Helmut, but that is what Helmut does, you know. He moves the team around, and it would make sense to put Daniel Ricciardo's replacement into his car for the remainder of the season, wouldn't it? Especially as his replacement, as we mentioned, is Pierre Gasly, currently racing down here at Toro Rosso. So will Helmut Marko ring the changes? I've heard rumours that Sebastian Buemi, who many people expected to step up to Toro Rosso last season, ultimately ended up being Brendan Hartley, might come back into the fold. Apparently Buemi's going to be at the next few races. Might that be Helmut changing, moving the pieces around on the boards? As Daniel said, he hadn't thought about that. He is now. Anyway, Pedro, he's a very, very happy man, obviously. He's been in Formula One full-time for less than a year, and he's off to Red Bull Racing, to the big time, to have a chance at fighting for race wins and championships. Delighted for him. I mean, phenomenally quick guy, really lovely bloke. So yeah, super, super happy for young Pierre Gasly.
Honestly, it's amazing. It's difficult to put words into it because just best news of my career. Of course, I've been dreaming about it, and I've been targeting that seat since I joined the Red Bull program, but I didn't expect it to come that fast, you know. Was really surprised when I got the Daniel's news, but in a way really happy because I knew there will be an opportunity, and finally it ended up with the seat for next year. So yeah, just amazing news, and super excited about it.
What was your immediate reaction when you saw Daniel's news, or you heard about Daniel's news? Were you like, yeah, this is it?
In a way, at the beginning I didn't believe it. Like, Helmut called me and told it to me, and I was like, it must be one of his jokes, but I really quickly understood that, yeah, it was real, and I was shocked. I mean, I was surprised because I was pretty sure it will stay in the team, and then my future will be with Toro Rosso. But then, yeah, straight after that it was difficult to disconnect during the summer break because I knew that the seat will be available for next year there, and it will be sort of battle between Carlos and myself. And yeah, I've just tried to enjoy the break, waiting for a phone call, and phone call did happen, and with the great news. So yeah, it was a fantastic moment, and I was with all my friends. Great time to celebrate, and yeah, just amazing news.
Now, of course, as Pierre said, Red Bull Racing had a decision to make over that seat between him and Carlos Sainz Jr., who was, up until this year when he moved to Renault, a Red Bull driver. Of course, he started his career at Toro Rosso and then moved to Enstone. Ultimately, they went with Pierre. Carlos, as had been rumoured in Hungary, is McLaren bound for next year to replace his hero, Fernando Alonso, who announced that he would retire from Formula One. Although he didn't exactly say retire, he said he's leaving Formula One for now. Might he be back? Where's he going? We'll cover that in a minute. Anyway, Carlos is off to McLaren. So let's talk to him about what lies in store for him for next year and beyond, given that McLaren, is it a step up from Renault? Is it a step sideways? Is it a step backwards, given the fact that McLaren has the same power unit as these guys at Renault, but this season hasn't looked to be anywhere near, ultimately, every weekend as these guys have? Carlos, congratulations, another new team. Was it a surprise to hear that Daniel was moving to Renault to take your spot? Because I think when we left in Hungary, a lot of people were saying it was going to be Esteban Ocon that was maybe potentially moving to Renault.
I think it was a bit of a surprise for everyone, but as I knew that surprises sometimes happen in Formula One, I was ready for that. And I had been in touch with Red Bull, with McLaren before that. as I knew that Daniel was a threat to the Renault seat, and that I might have need to look elsewhere.
Now the McLaren thing, as you said, you'd already been in touch with them. That was a rumour going into Hungary as well. How long had that been going on for, or was it relatively new?
No, it's been relatively long. It's not a matter of as soon as I saw the Renault door starting to close, I went to talk with McLaren. No, it's been something about a year now that I have been in touch with Zak Brown and with the management there. There's always been good relationship with them. I've played golf and with Zak and a couple of times, and because of that, I knew I was wanted by McLaren in that case, and I knew that McLaren was a great place to be for me in the future. So as soon as everything started to evolve, it was just a matter of arriving to a good compromise.
How much of what you've learned both at Toro Rosso and here in terms of taking a team, developing it, not necessarily a team right at the top, is going to be important at McLaren, because it's not a World Championship winning McLaren, it's still a team very much rebuilding itself?
It's still a team very much rebuilding itself, and I'm lucky to be still 23. In 7 days I will be 24, for your info. And
I'll get you something nice.
Okay. So I'm still very patient. I'm still fully motivated, or let's say more motivated than ever after joining the second most historical team in Formula One. I'm ready to help them to go back to the top. I don't mind if it takes 1, 2, 3, 4 years. I'm ready to be part of that family, to be part of that project, and I'm going to push right out for that.
So as we said, Carlos Sainz comes to McLaren to replace Fernando Alonso. Was it a surprise that Fernando Alonso quit Formula One? I think the only surprise, really for me anyway, the only surprise is that he's lasted as long as he has. I think the frustration has finally become too much for him with that relationship with McLaren that never quite gave back all that it promised. Perhaps that's a reflection on Fernando's career, a guy who arrived on such a rapid and steep trajectory, world champion in 05 and 06, and since then, no more world championships. A career that promised so much, but didn't quite deliver everything that perhaps it could have done had he just, say, played the politics slightly differently. Anyway, let's hear from Fernando. Why did he decide to leave? What is the next step from him on a career that, I think if we're being honest, none of us see as being completely over?
Well, at the moment it's a goodbye, but who knows what's going to happen in the future. I don't have the crystal ball to be 100% sure I will do this, I will do that, or I will never come back into Formula One. Already life teach me a couple of times that one thing that you probably are 100% sure now, maybe it's not 100% anymore a couple of months later. So I will see whatever the future brings, and if one day I come back, I will be happy because there is a reason to come back. If I don't come back, I will be happy anyway.
Why have you decided to go?
Well, I think right now there are definitely in other series or in other championships bigger challenges than Formula One at the moment.
For you or in general?
For me, 100%, because I already succeed, let's say, in Formula One, and I have 2 championships. I have nearly 100 podiums, and probably my journey here has been better than what I dreamed when I started. But I think for some other drivers, I'm sure that if they look outside, they will find bigger challenges than the ones they have right now here, because what you have here is more or less what your car will give you the possibility to do. And if there are guys here with ambition, they will need to find something outside Formula One. If they don't have ambition, they can drive here.
That ambition, is that now the Triple Crown? I know you've spoken about it before, but you're 2/3 of the way there. IndyCar, Indy 500, is that where you see the competitive future for Fernando Alonso and taking that and becoming only the second man in history to do so?
I'm more interested to be the first man in history. So
add the Dakar to it.
There are more challenges than that one.
WRC, Dakar, what else? You like 2 wheels? MotoGP as well? British superbikes?
I'm studying the possibilities, but if I do something, probably I will try to do something that has been never done.
If I was going to put any money on it, I would put Fernando Alonso in IndyCar next year, whether that is with a McLaren satellite team or anybody else, I'm not entirely sure, but I can see Fernando heading stateside to try and win that Indy 500, regardless of what he said about wanting to do something unique and special. He said maybe he'll go and do the Dakar as well. Who knows? Right. Are you ready for things to get complicated, Steve? And everyone at home. Right, here we go. So, we know Carlos Sainz is off to McLaren to replace his boyhood hero, Fernando Alonso. Who's going to drive alongside him? The money at the moment is Esteban Ocon, who we thought before the summer break was going to go to Renault. But he's not, because Daniel is going to Renault to race alongside Nico Hülkenberg. So, Esteban Ocon may go to McLaren alongside Carlos Sainz. There's also a rumour that Esteban Ocon might go to Williams, because there's also a rumour that Lance Stroll might go to Force India. Why? Because Lance Stroll's dad has bailed out Force India. Remember, we went into the summer break and Force India had been put into administration by Sergio Perez, or certainly representatives of Sergio Perez, because Checo was owed money, various other people were owed money within that structure, and we didn't really know what the situation was. So over the summer, a group of investors came to the rescue of the team to save Force India. They are headed by Lawrence Stroll. Now, do you think we talk about Force India first, Steve, or shall we talk to Lance first? What do you reckon? Because the rumour, folks, this weekend is that Lance Stroll could find himself at Force India before the end of the season. And we think that would probably be in place of Esteban Ocon, because Sergio Perez, in initiating everything against Force India, has pretty much, we would have thought, cemented his place at the team. In doing what he did, he's pretty much saved the team, or certainly its immediate future. You know what? Let's start with the Force India drivers. I think that's a good idea, because it's never quite that easy. Allied to all of this and arriving here in Spa is the threat that apparently sits over Force India at the moment, that they may not be allowed to race, because there is a confusion and a question mark over the investors and Lawrence Stroll. Did they buy everything? And by everything, I mean, did they buy just the physical assets, or did they also buy the intellectual assets? And by that, I mean the Formula One entry. There is a lot of confusion around that right now. One would ask, why have they turned up, set up, done the cars, everything, if they weren't going to race this weekend? Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the situation is, because it is evolving seemingly every minute. There seems to be a consideration that the team will take on a new name. As you can see, there is no name on the side of the motorhome where once there was. Sahara Force India, gone. The team entry is Sahara Force India. If they change their name, they forfeit their points, they forfeit their right to F1 money and the TV revenue and everything that comes along with that. Yeah, let's start with these guys. Here's Sergio Perez, here's Esteban Ocon. Not a lot they can say under the circumstances, but we'll get all out to them that we can about the situation at the team, and also the situation for this weekend. Will they be running here in Spa?
I think I'm happy. Obviously, it's quite emotional in a way, but I'm happy. I think everyone is very optimistic in the team. I was in the factory last week. Everyone was thanking me for what I did to save their jobs. They now understand the reasons behind it, and things are looking really good inside the team. You know, everyone is very positive about things.
Is Force India going to be racing this weekend? It's the question that everyone's got as we arrive here.
I don't have an answer for you. You know, of course, I'm here as a driver, ready to jump in the car. It's more for the management to reply to you. But I'm prepared, and I'm more, angry than ever, to jump in the car and race here.
Last time we saw you, there was a lot of talk that you were on the verge of signing for Renault, or that you might have even signed a pre-contract with Renault. That's not happening now. Were you shocked to hear when Daniel had signed?
Shocked, no. I mean, there was possibilities, with Renault for sure. It's now passed, and I'm happy for Renault and Daniel. I think it's going to be a good duo. But now on my side, I have to, keep pushing and try to do the best job I can, like I did in the first half of the season, to find a place next year. But as I said before, I totally trust the management in Mercedes to find a solution, and that should be good.
Right, does that all make sense? Clear as mud, isn't it? The drivers clearly put on a tone of voice by the team, because when we asked them about will the team be racing this weekend, almost word for word the same answers, essentially saying you need to speak to the top management. I'm prepared, I've done everything I need to do as always, and I'm looking forward to getting out and driving on track. We don't know what will happen between now and tomorrow. we hope, because they're a great team, we hope that the cars will just roll out at the start of FP1, everything is normal. So everything crossed for that. Now, we mentioned, obviously, Lawrence Stroll and the consortium, the new owners, also the new investors in Force India, or whatever it will be called. Perhaps no name. Let's come back then to Williams. Is it an awkward situation that Lance Stroll, father Lawrence Stroll, now has a big chunk of the pink team as well? And also the rumours about Lance potentially racing for the pink team, not just next year, but maybe even for a couple of races this year. Let's just put it to him simply, shall we? Hello, Lance.
Hi, Will.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Great. When are you going to be driving for Force India?
That's my dad.
Ah, you've been prepped for that all day, haven't you?
No, I just said realistically, that's my dad.
Is it in the works though?
Well, right now, I mean, I'm still wearing my Williams polo, so it hasn't, nothing's changed yet. But you know, he's a nice guy, and I hope he takes me.
Your dad?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's a bit awkward being at Williams with everything that's going on at the moment with Force India, knowing that your father's investing in them, that there's all this talk going on about will you, won't you still be there?
Not at all. I've, you know, a contract at Williams. I have good history with Williams. You know, things in Formula One happen. The sport's full of surprises, and you know they know what you know. Williams knows what I'm capable of doing. We've achieved success in the past together. Last year, even you know, very few times this year. So we have a professional relationship, and you know, I'm you know gonna try and do the best I can for them, and I think you know they're gonna do the best they can for me while I'm here.
So that's all the complicated stuff out of the way, I think. Pretty much. Let's move on to Haas and to Romain Grosjean, of course, who's had some real up and down moments here at Spa. We all remember the incident for which he was banned, and then, you know, some great results coming through. Podium here for Lotus. He's had some great races here as well. This is a guy massively under pressure in the second half of the season. We've been talking about silly season. Well, it was silly, then it became real silly season. And the reality is that Romain Grosjean, I think the prevailing opinion here is that he's got 9 races to save his Formula One career, because there are a lot of drivers after that second seat. Kevin Magnussen looks pretty bolted on for next year, but who will be in that second Haas seat is anyone's guess. Let's hear from the Frenchman as we reconvene for this second half of a season which could be pivotal to his future in the sport.
I'm back here ready for the second part of the season with the battery fully charged. We know we're going to have a lot of travel right now, so you know, it's always an exciting time, but yeah, it was good, and Formula One is pretty much always on my mind anyway.
The second half of the season, how important is it for you and for the team?
It is important, as the first one didn't go quite as good as we wanted for various reasons, some bad luck, some mistakes on mine. So I really want us to get a second really good second half, which I think we can. Circuit should be quite good for us. The team is growing and getting better, so obviously we want to do as good as we can, so we can have a go at that 4th place in the Constructor Championship.
Silly season has been quite silly, and we've seen some amazing moves. Obviously your name is in the mix for next year. Do you think, or what do you think you need to do in these remaining races for 2018?
We'll see. I think it's been quite interesting to follow during the summer break all the announcements. 2 biggest being Daniel and Ricciardo going to Renault, and Fernando not racing next year. Yeah, I think, you know, let's focus on Spa, and then Monza is coming after, and then we may have some time to think about what we do in the future.
Is that it? You just got to focus on what you do, not think about the bigger picture?
I've got a manager, so he thinks about the stuff outside of racing on the racetrack over a race week, and I think about racing.
Now, that question mark over that second American seat, with it looking increasingly likely that Kimi Raikkonen's going to stay at Ferrari for another 1, potentially 2 years, the question marks now fall down on Charles Leclerc. Will he stay here at Sauber for another year? Will he move up to Haas? One thing's for sure, wherever he ends up, he will have a Ferrari engine in the back of his chassis. We're not going to talk to him today, though. We're going to talk to Marcus Ericsson. The reason being, Marcus had a really great start to the season. Then when Charles started absolutely firing, Marcus sort of slightly went off the boil. He's been very I think, introspective over the summer break to really figure out where he was going wrong. We know he struggled in qualifying, but why? Why has Marco struggled to put it together and to extract the most from the car when Charles has been able to really do just that? Some good words, I think, from the Swedish driver about what, for him as well, is going to be a really important second half of this season.
I just need to qualify better. I think that will be the key for me for the second half, because the race performances, when we look back and analyze, it's been very strong in general. So the key for my second half of the year will be to qualify higher.
What's the trick to that? Where are you lacking? Are you making mistakes? Are you just not making that step between FP3 into qualifying?
I think it's a combination of things, but I've been speaking a lot with my engineers about it and sort of going into myself as well and trying to be, understand what's been going wrong. And I think one of the things is that Charles has been doing very, very good on the other side of the garage, and it's easy then to look a lot at what he's doing, setup wise, driving wise, and just because it works for him doesn't mean automatically it will work for me, because we are different drivers, we want different things from the cars. So I think that would be one of the keys that I would focus on, to try and focus more on my feel in the car, in the driving, and try and sort of optimize that. And I think that will hopefully help me to unlock some potential there.
All of which leaves us with the championship protagonists. Of course, it is Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes versus Ferrari and Sebastian Vettel, and you're about to hear from both.
I don't really plan so much. Of course you have goals and certain deliverables that you want to deliver, and it's not really shifted from the last couple of races, or even for most of the season. I think through the season it evolves, your approach and your methods evolve, hopefully for the better. And my mindset is exactly the same as it was at the last race. So try and continue that over. But we've not been in the car for a couple weeks. We went into that break with the best feeling for sure as a team, and a lot of work has gone on back at the factory before the shutdown and since even this week. And it's been really positive to see how upbeat everyone is and excited they are for the second part.
I think the key will be to be fast, to have the speed. I think that's what will be deciding. Obviously, the points-wise, we know that we are a little bit behind, but I don't think it's anything that we can't do. I think it has been looking for myself worse in past years, and we still managed to turn it around by having the speed. So that will be the key.
So that's your lot from Paddock Pass. I'm sorry if it's not really previewed the weekend so much as it has just simply explained the driver deals and who's moving where. But frankly, that's the biggest topic of conversation coming back after the summer break. I hope it all makes some form of sense, but it's one of the most intriguing and interesting sort of summers of driver deals that I've seen in a really long time, and it's not over yet. And of course, so much of that hinges on the pink team. We wish them the best. We hope to see them out on track this weekend with a saga, even in terms of driver contracts, which I'm sure is going to have some more twists and turns over the continuing 9 races of the season. That's your lot, though, from Paddock Pass. It's great to be back on the road, great to be back here in Spa, this majestic circuit. It is due to rain a lot this weekend here in Spa. It always does. They always say if it's not raining, it's getting ready to rain. So with that in mind, I do have my rain jacket. Looking forward to it. Hope you are too. Follow along for everything online as always, guys. And enjoy the weekend. And from us on Paddock Pass, that's your lot.